Let us welcome the second speaker. The second speaker is Miss Himari Semans.
Her speech title is My Inner Dialogue and Me. My Inner Dialogue and Me. So, Miss Semans, please come up to the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony and distinguished judges. Good afternoon, everyone. You know that stereotype of how younger generations don't show much interest in traditional culture? Well, in many cases, that may be true. And about 2 years ago, I was a perfect example of that stereotype. But I didn't go from cultural apathy to activism overnight. So here's my story about what I discovered about myself and my local culture. I had lived in Omiya most of my life, and like most people, wasn't expecting any kind of adventure to take place in my own neighborhood. Then, about 2 years ago, I realized that for me and my community, adventure was just around the corner. I came to this realization on my first visit to the Omiya Bonsai village with my parents. Until then, I didn't know anything about Omiya's bonsai culture, which made walking through the historic village feel strange after so many years of living nearby. After that, my parents and I would go back once or twice a month to walk around. But because I had been ignorant of my local culture for so long, I couldn't see what made it charismatic or special. My lack of cultural understanding bothered me a lot. So I began reading books and articles about bonsai, and sometimes visited the Omiya Bonsai Art Museum. A couple of months passed, and I had reached a very basic level of cultural awareness. Although I was still a beginner, it felt good when I could tell the differences between various bonsai styles or shapes. I started learning through actual experience when I started volunteering at the Omiya Bonsai Art Museum. My job was to assist professional bonsai gardeners in workshops. This was a really refreshing way to learn about bonsai and the village. Every workshop made me think about what I could do to make the most out of my experiences. Suddenly, my inner dialogue was like, wow, I've changed a lot. And I didn't want to miss this moment in which I was so prepared to take action. So I wrote articles and reports about what I had learned through volunteer work and shared this information with my family and friends. And as you might expect, they were surprised by my enthusiasm for bonsai. More and more people read my articles and gave me feedback. Some even reached out to me through mutual friends. Connecting with people came with questions that made me dive deeper into the bonsai community. And then I heard that inner dialogue again. How have I come this far? I organized the bonsai workshop and interpreted for students from France and Switzerland. I put together bonsai starter kits for 20 American students. And in my current high school, I've led 2 English bonsai workshops, one last year and another very recently for exchange students from New Zealand and Germany. It turned out that the small town I had grown up in had so much to offer to me and my community. My local culture gave me a purpose to take action and make a difference. Pretty good story, right? But it's not just a story. I've done more than just develop respect and understanding towards the bonsai community. I've become a part of my local culture and helped others take away the most from their experiences. I've made supportive and inspiring friends, both inside and outside of the bonsai community. And last but not least, I've noticed my inner dialogue become more positive and self-encouraging. So, what does your inner dialogue say? Is it congratulating you? Is it motivating you? Take it from me, it's the small steps that really matter. And those steps should always be pointed towards taking action. But our starting points are all different. For you, it might be joining a local association or going to a community event. And the person next to you may want to talk to traditional craftsmen or experienced elders. The point is, we can and should begin learning about our traditional cultures by taking incremental steps. When we take action, we find people and people find us. And that's just what made me a better and happier person. I have my traditional culture and local community to thank for giving me this adventure of discovering myself. I hope for nothing more than for you to find a place in your own community to embark on such a journey as well. Let's listen to our inner dialogues, value each step we take, and love our culture and the relationships we make on the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Semans. Now we have a question and answer session. Mr. Tamura, please.
Okay, Himari-san, thank you very much for sharing your exciting experience. And is it in Omiya? Omiya
Yes.
Museum, Bonsai Museum.
Yes.
Okay. Is it open throughout the year?
Yes.
Okay, so I needed to take a look at it.
Sure.
So, first of all, can you describe what is bonsai so that, you know, those who've never seen bonsai before, and what is the attraction of bonsai?
Okay, so essentially bonsai are tiny trees in these very traditionally made bonsai pots. And well, for each individual person, I think there's that attractive aspect of bonsai. And personally for me, it's learning more about the communities in which bonsai are treasured, how every single bonsai garden has its own style, and by walking into these villages that are totally open to the public, you get to really know the taste and quality of each gardener's style. So I think that's really interesting.
And what makes you so excited about bonsai?
Well, I think it's about how when you look at a bonsai, you're not just looking at a plant, but you're not just looking at art. It's a combined version of art and life in this one pot. And you can't just grow a single bonsai within your lifetime. Actually, you need to pass it down through generations and generations to make it this really valuable thing. So when you're being presented with this one single piece of bonsai, you're absorbing so many years of history and dedication.
So today's speech, you're talking about inner voice, inner dialogue. And I think everybody has two types of inner voice. And one is the voice of self-confidence. And the other is the voice of self-doubt.
Okay.
So today you've introduced a lot of self-confidence voice. So do you have the voice of self-doubt?
Of course. Every day is a mix of both. Some days you have more of the other. But I think that's where you need to turn to your community for. And I found my community in the Bonsai Village and hope to strengthen my ties to the people who supported me through my journey.
So in your experience, when everything goes well, and then you have a time to listen to your the voice of self-confidence, but when things went wrong, and then the voice of self-doubt becomes bigger and bigger. So my last question is that how do you cope with the situation when things go wrong, and the voice of self-doubt is getting bigger and bigger? And how would you control yourself to try to listen to your self-confidence?
Well, there's this one quote that I really like from my favorite book. I recommend it to everyone here. It's Turtles All the Ways Down by John Green. But anyway,
Can you say that again?
Turtles All the Way Down by John Green, but that's not the important part, I'm sorry. The quote is that our strongest, okay, I can't remember the exact one, but basically it says that in order to combat stress or any kind of difficulty, the biggest strength that we can have is the ability to choose one thought over the other. So you can, of course, have days where you decide, okay, I'm in a depressed state right now. I don't think I can be my strongest today. That's okay. But other days when you really need to know that you need to fight through it, that thought in your head where you get like, okay, I know that it's not the best at where I am right now, but I can get over this. That thought, I think, is the thought that you need to choose when you are in that kind of state.
All right, that's all. Thank you, Himari-san.
Sorry about the quote thing, but read the book, please. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Semans and Mr. Tamura. Please go back to your seat.